Now here's Navy pilots, some of the, very trusted people. You could trust what they see is going on, and they're telling you these are some aerial phenomenon that is they know it can't be human technology, but yet our government's saying they're stupid. So most of the UAP reports probably do represent physical objects, but out of the 144 UAP reports between 2004 and 2021, only one could be identified with high confidence. According to the report, that one turned out to be a large deflating balloon. Yes, you heard me right.
Sounds about right.
A large deflating balloon. And if you expected anything else from our government, you need to be put on some meds, because I knew better. And so the report is the result of an Intelligence Authorization Act for the fiscal year of 2021, in which the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee called for an investigation into unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAPs for short, or what we used to call them, UFOs. On December 21st, 2020, the bill was enacted. The Director of National Intelligence and Security of Defense was given 180 days to produce a report for the committee. And so we reached that deadline. The unclassified report was released Friday, June 25th. Is meant to be an intelligent assessment of the threat possessed by unidentified aerial phenomenon, and the progressing of Department of Defense UAP task force has made it understanding that this threat, so they're going to continue to look into it, is what they're going to say. And they're going to need billions of more dollars to continue to look into this. But right now, they don't see that it's little green men, no aliens from Mars, or anything else. And the one threat that they did identify was a weather balloon. So,
yeah, I mean that makes me feel safer.
it makes me feel safer that one of two things, right, Jason? So either the men and women that we have flying, that has the utmost confidence to drop bombs, blow things up, and do all this other stuff, is highly capable and everything of seeing and threat assessment and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But now they're told that they're dumb. I mean,
oh well.
It just makes no sense to me.
So that was the weird news with David. Very good news.
That's crazy, right?
We're going to take just a small break, and when we come back, we're going to have Scott Violette on. He's going to be talking some Sasquatch with us.
Oh, yes. You wanna listen to some Sasquatch paparazzi?
Yeah. Just for a minute.
Yep.
All right.
So we're going to go to a break. And
by the way, I got the Spreaker feed back up, so you should be hearing it on Spreaker too.
Yes. Remember, we are simulcasting live to Spreaker, like Jason just said, and to Podbean. But also come over to the website, projectdarkcorona.org. Go into live show and chat room. Come in and chat with us there. So we'll be back right after this quick break.
You're listening to Project Dark Corona.
Hey, this is Jeff Reagan with the band Catalyst. You're listening to Project Dark Corona.
Do you like the paranormal, cryptids, and folklore? Then join us at Project Dark Corona on Spreaker. We have a live show on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We interview the best in all subjects of paranormal and strange. Also, join us on ProjectDarkCorona.org. When you sign up, become a member, you'll get to hear the latest blogs and episodes. Thanks, and remember, Project Dark Corona Podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Sieber. I'm stuck in a bunker with David and Jason on Project Dark Corona.
All right, welcome back to Project Dark Corona. You ready to get this thing started?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Sasquatch Paparazzi by Mississippi Bones.
All right, before we bring him on, I'm going to introduce Scot Violette. Scott is a cultural anthropologist specializing in Native American history and culture. And while working with several tribes on digs and in political recognition, process, he was exposed to the multiplicity of Bigfoot legends throughout Native American storytelling.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. So this inspired him to put up a Facebook page and a free website by which he could collect sighting reports, which led to a sighting of his own. So maybe we can get that out of him. All right, let's bring on Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, how are you guys tonight?
Oh, excellent, excellent. How you doing?
Great.
That's good.
So, you're an anthropologist by trade?
Yes.
So, and that's what, so hearing the stories of the natives is kind of what got you interested in the subject?
Yeah, what really got me interested was I was working with the Miwok Indian tribe. They're from the Yosemite Valley in California. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to log the history of how long their people had been there. And so we were looking at petroglyphs and pictographs, from up to, 1,500 years old. And I had learned to read those when I was in school and college, but we came across a couple of pictographs I'd never seen before. And I asked one of the elders, what is that? He said, oh, that's Bigfoot. That just kind of nonchalant, like, no big deal. That's Bigfoot, And I said, wait a minute, those exist? And he looked at me and he goes, yeah. And like I was stupid and turned around and walked away, So.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So,
yeah. So I started looking into the other ones and talking with other tribes and trying to find other pictographs. And of course, there's that famous one in California, Hairy Man, which is an 8-foot tall depiction that's almost 2,000 years old.
Wow.
I ran across that and talked to the anthropologist who had studied that. And so I started checking with other tribes. When I worked with other tribes, and I started making phone calls to different tribal elders and stuff and talking to them about their Bigfoot legends. And I found 75 different tribes with Bigfoot legends, stories, and even names for them.
Wow. So each tribe's name is different for each one of these. Even if you get into like the Iroquoian type of language group, for each different group, is there still a different name, or is it all pretty much the same?
No, they're different names. And what's kind of interesting is some of them call them like elder brother. Some of them call them like a spirit being. their names kind of equate to that. But then there's it's kind of interesting that half of them is the older brother, is the spirit being, is, a tribal friend kind of thing. But the other half is like Wendigo and stuff like that. They're cannibal, monster, so it seems like half, it's almost half, exactly half the tribes, look at them as something benevolent, and then the other half look at them as a monster or something to be scared of.
Wow. Now, does that have a lot to do with location, like west versus east or north versus south, on where that line is drawn?
Yeah, it's north versus south, actually. The southern Bigfoot are meaner, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think we have one of the legends in the tribes around here, I think, was that the Bigfoot would help them hunt and help them do all kinds of stuff. I'm not sure which one that was. The Cherokee, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you go further south, in the Florida swamplands and Louisiana bayous, those tend to get more ominous names.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
That's crazy. I figured, most of us Southerners, they'd just be laid back, just like, what's up?
Yeah.
But so that's something, because I really thought up in the Pacific Northwest, like up in Washington and stuff like that they had some pretty violent encounters, like and that where Ape Canyon happened.
Yeah. Yeah. With the shootout at the cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There are bad encounters all over.
Right.
But the way I kind of look at it is, I think there's, I think that most Bigfoot are pretty calm. They want to avoid us most of the time. But every once in a while, if you've got if you got something cornered, it's going to strike back, kind of thing. Or if you hurt them, they're going to hurt you. Sort of the deal.
That makes sense.
And then, of course, there's rowdy teenage boys too. So you got to think about that. Yeah. So
that makes sense. I've heard a lot of people say, that they think that, just like people, you have good ones and you have bad ones. You may have caught them on a day that they have a bad toothache or something, and
yeah, exactly.
Why can't they all be like Harry
and the Hendersons?
Yeah.
That would be nice. I don't think that they're like Harry. I think that they're, like we are, or like a bear. They're omnivores. I think that they eat a little of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm certain they are.
I seen a video. It was on Facebook. It may not have been real or whatever, but it was a deer in like a field or next to a bunch of trees, and there was like a figure standing there, and it looked like it was petting it. And this figure had the cone head and everything. It looked like a Bigfoot to me, but it was sort of like transparent. It was pretty weird. So I don't know if it's real or not, but I seen that on Facebook.
Yeah, I think there's a video, and I think it's out of Georgia, but don't quote me on that, where a guy got a video of a Bigfoot drowning a deer in a little pond,
Really?
holding its head underwater. Yeah.
Wow.
Have to look
And we had an encounter that I had with a witness who said this is up in the northwest in Oregon, and in eastern Oregon in the Blue Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Freeman film, if you're familiar with that, was shot.
Yes.
Okay, so I actually had a witness with with an encounter with deer that way. And that's also where I saw my Bigfoot. And we'll get into that in a bit. But, yeah, in fact, it was 15 miles from where the Freeman film was shot. So,
Wow.
but what the lady said is she found some deer on her property and they were dead, and she didn't know how they got where they got, and so she wanted me to come check it out. And there was 3 deer stacked on top of each other across 2 limbs, 8 foot up a pine tree, just laid across the 2 limbs.
What?
Sideways, not hanging like you'd hang a deer, but they were laying on the limbs flat and they were stacked up. And,
Wow.
and we went and checked it out, and there wasn't a hole in them. I mean, there was no blood anywhere. Their necks were broke, but something had broke their necks. And usually, if a cougar, takes down a deer, there'll be bites on the neck, because they choke them out,
Yep. Then
And-
you'd have it where they drug them up the tree too.
Exactly. Right. And these were just placed up there and stacked up.
That's fascinating.
Deer mutilations.
Yeah. Yep.
Went from cow.
Yeah, it was either Bigfoot or aliens, one of the two. Yeah.
That's funny.
But I can't believe they would stack them up. That's. I wonder
Well,
why.
that's intelligence.
Yeah.
That's definitely intelligence.
Yeah.
I mean, and then to put them up
Yeah, I
high
don't
like
know if
that
it
is
was-
to keep them away from other things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, that's
So-
fascinating. So, doing all like your anthropology work and stuff, that stuff right there that fascinates me a lot. Anyway, especially getting to work with the natives and stuff, because I was starting to write a book about the Mayas and how I believe that
Okay.
they were from the Americas and they migrated down, and that they still had trade and everything going here in the Americas, because you have the Creek Indians, which like almost 90% or 95% of their language is a Maya language, and stuff, and they actually did cranial deformation and all kinds of stuff, and I really find a lot of that stuff really fascinating. I try to hit all these mound sites and stuff when I can, and take pictures of their pottery, because you could really tell a lot about a group from their pottery and how they made it,
Absolutely.
and how they fired it, and you could see the how things go from a long time ago till as they get better with it, and then you could kind of trace it back and look, okay, well, these other people have this same thing and they have the same language group, and I don't know, it's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I actually spent a couple summers down in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico. I don't know if you're familiar with that place,
Yes, yeah.
but you need to look that up. Yeah, we spent a couple summers when I was in college doing an archaeological dig down there, and we found a lot of trade, with the Aztecs and the Mayans, but I think a lot of it, they might have as well been Mayans up there, in New Mexico, because we found like those ball fields that the Aztecs had. We found those. We found jars with chocolate in them
Really?
from the cacao beans from down south. Yeah, and that was like a sacred drink for the Mayans. And we also found parrot skeletons, which aren't native to New Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. Because I know in like some of the research that I'd done in writing the book and stuff, and you had like the Creek Indians and stuff like that, where they said that their origin come from a city of reeds and stuff, and a lot of people kind of mistook that and thought they came from like the coastal areas or somewhere where there's a lot of reeds. But if you look into the Mayan aspect of it, if you look into their language part of it, they actually say that they called their cities like cities of reeds because there's so many people. They were like reeds in the wind. And and so if you look at the aspect, the language aspects and stuff of it, and trying to stop, directly correlating it with English, you really kind of see that these people were more than likely one and the same people.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely.
I think so. Well, I kind of got off track. I'm sorry. I just had to pick your brain for a second. I don't get to do that.
Okay.
Hey, anthropology is his thing.
I know.
Yeah.
So about your Bigfoot sighting, I'm interested in hearing this.
Okay. So it took me a long time to get my first sighting, like 25 years. So, wow. It's very rare. It's very rare to see one.
Yes.
But what happened is I had my website up and we had our Facebook page and all that, and people would be sending us, I get about 124 or 25 or so sightings a month on my website.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, we happened to get 5 sightings from 5 different people that didn't know each other in the same area in the same week. So I'm like hotspot, right? So we ran up there, and it so happened to be, like I said, 15 miles from where the Freeman film was shot in the Blue Mountains, just kind of south of where the Freeman film was. That was back in the 90s, and this was 2017. So we were hiking a trail, and I smelled this smell that I had never smelled before. It was a horrible smell. I've heard it described, to me, 100 times from 100 different people, but I never experienced it myself. And, I've heard people say it's like a wet dog rolled in garbage with onions, and I have to agree with that. Yeah. So I told the guy I was with, and this was a guy who had never been Bigfooting before. It was his birthday, and his daughter got a hold of me and said, "Hey, he really wants to go out and go Bigfooting for once in his life," and I said, "Okay, come along." I didn't even know the guy. I met him that day. So, and it was his first Bigfooting trip. So we're walking the trail, and I go, "Hey, stop." So we're looking around the woods trying to see anything, movement, anything, and I didn't see anything. So I said, but it was kind of spit and rain a little bit. So I decided, hey, let's walk up the trail and see if it follows us. So I was hoping I could get some footprints on a muddy trail somewhere. If it followed us or walked past the trail after we left. Uh-huh. So we walked, and I was hoping it would follow us, and the smell went away. So I said, well, I'm going to go back. And so we went back down the trail, and the smell came back. And then I heard this kind of a grunt sound off to my right at that time. It was like, So we turned, and we were looking down where we heard the sound, but I couldn't see anything. And so I decided to growl back at it. So I just back at it, and then it growled again, and I saw it. It was in this little opening in the trees about 200 feet away from me, and its head was moving back and forth like it was rocking side to side, kind of, measuring me up, sort of thing.
Should I run for him or wait for him?
Yeah. So I immediately started snapping as many pictures as I possibly could. And my camera kept trying to focus on the lens in front of it, and so I was grabbing my lens, and I was hearing the gears popping in my camera lens, trying to hold the focus, back instead of turning the. I didn't have time to turn it off, so I got this quintessential blurry picture of Bigfoot, but
that's good.
But but what happened was. After about maybe 2 or 3 seconds, it wasn't very long, we hear this whistle off to our left, kind of behind this creature up the hill a little bit. And it turned and walked towards that whistle. And it was a really weird high-pitched whistle. It was almost like an elk bugle, but it wasn't, bugles kind of go up and down and up and down. It was just kind of like a whistle, but that really high-pitched whistle, and it turned and walked away, and then the smell went away and we lost it.
Wow.
We sat there until it got dark, and we tried doing tree knocks stuff, which I don't do anymore because I really don't get anything from that. But so we went back home that night, and the next morning I was there bright and early, and I spent 3 days. We camped out there in that spot. And we found 3 9-inch footprints with 3 15-inch footprints next to them.
Oh, he found 3.
So,
not 1.
Yeah.
3. That's what I was going
3,
to ask.
Yeah.
Have you ever got more than 1 footprint?
Yeah. Oh, we did. We absolutely did. But what I did was I took my tripods and stuff, and I set my camera up, and I went down there and stood where that thing was and took pictures of myself. I had my wife with me, and we shot lasers through the trees and measured everything, the distance from where I was from the camera to where this thing was standing, where the footprints were. And we come to the conclusion the one I was looking at was 6 foot tall.
Do you think that was the juvenile?
Actually, I think that was a juvenile, and I think the whistle we heard was mom or dad saying, leave the people alone, get over here,
They're not
so they turned and walked away. Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, which actually leads me to the conclusion I think most of the sightings people have are juveniles messing up.
I tend to agree with you because, they're still learning the ropes and what not to do, and it's just like any kid, right? They're gonna mess up every once in a while. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then some of the rock throwing and stuff. That sounds like a typical teenager to me.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna do what my mom and dad told me not to do. I'm going down here and gonna throw rocks at these things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When you said it was like swaying its head back and forth, that just reminded me of that's a trait of an ape, right? When they do that.
Oh, it is. Yeah, when they're walking back and forth, it's like I think they're trying to intimidate you, maybe, or
like you said, size you up.
Size you up. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So, I know this is still early in the show, but what do you think the Bigfoot is? Do you think it's a Gigantopithecus offshoot, human offshoot, just an undiscovered ape? There's so many things that people think.
There is, but here and this is my theory, okay, and I think other anthropologists have heard this theory before, but where I'm coming at it is from a historical point of view, and an anthropological point of view is the difference between an ape, primate ape, and a hominid, us, is that we walk upright and we have small canine teeth. Apes walk on all fours and they have big canine teeth. And from all the photos I've seen and from my own personal encounter, these creatures do not have big canine teeth. So what's that make them? A primate ape or a primate human? Hominid. And so technically they're a hominid. So they walk upright, they got small canine teeth. But if we look at history, at any given time in the history of this world, okay, let's go this way. There's you know that picture you saw as a kid, and they got the picture of the monkey, and it turns into a man.
Yes.
You know.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's BS. That's not how it worked. So that's completely wrong. The way it worked is there's a human, original human somewhere, millions of years ago that started. And as the human species spread out to different locations in different areas, in different climates, they had to adapt to where they're living. So they changed. If you're in Africa and you have a lot of sun, you get dark melanin in your skin, right?
Yes.
To protect yourself.
Yes.
So,
and I don't know how true it is, but I have a theory about the hair too. The curly, tight hair is almost like a heat sink on a computer. It pulls the heat away from the head so you don't overheat. The same thing is why white people have hair that lays down, because it keeps the heat in, because we were typically colder climate.
Absolutely. And like Norwegians are bigger people because they have a lot more body mass to produce more heat.
Yeah.
That's why the Vikings are so big.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why they're so big.
Yeah.
Valhalla.
So what happened was, as they spread out, so that we've got different types of humans living together at the same time.
Gotcha.
And sometimes those branches come out. It's like a waterfall. The water spreads out, and sometimes the water comes back together down at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So in recent history, I'm talking the last million years, as far as anthropology goes, that's recent history. The last million years, we've had 5 species of humans living together at the same time. We have Homo sapiens, us. We had Homo neanderthal, Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis, and Homo floresiensis.
Oh, yeah.
And there's another one they just found. Homo nadali is another one they just found. That was alive when we were alive. So that's actually 6 that lived together at the same time. Mm-hmm. So at any time in history, there's been 5 to 6 species of humans living together. Why is today different?
Right.
So we know what happened. We know what happened to Neanderthals. They are actually still alive.
Yep. They can still trace
They're just
DNA in a lot of people.
Right. Mostly French.
Yeah. The Basque
because
people,
that's the area they came.
Don't the Basque people have like some of the highest DNA as far as Neanderthal? Yeah.
The Basque and actually the Acadian French too.
Okay.
I'm half, my dad's full-blooded Acadian French. I'm half. Hence the last name Violette. It's French Canadian. But
okay.
The Acadians, from like in northern Maine and Canada, they have a lot of Neanderthal in them. And actually, the Acadians up here, at one time, they sailed around Florida and landed in Louisiana, and that Acadian turned into Cajun. So the Cajuns are the same thing too. So
that makes sense. Sense.
Yeah, so those cavemen guys, So Cajuns are cavemen. So yeah, that's it.
I just find it fascinating because, like, the Basque people also have the highest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 30% of their population, or 35, or almost 40%, somewhere around there, of their population is Rh negative blood type, which
Right.
which the world population is less than 15%, and they've got the highest population of that gene of that blood type.
Right. Which is Neanderthal.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm RH. I'm a RH negative. I'm an O negative.
I thought I seen some big,
Okay.
big eyebrows.
No, my wife keeps them trimmed.
I'm 100% round fat man, no hair.
Okay, no hair. All right.
That's funny.
So if we go back into history now, you mentioned Gigantopithecus, which is an 8-foot tall upright walking primate, you know, that was found 10,000 years ago in China.
Yep. And all they've ever found is like bones and jawbones and teeth, right?
Right. They got a jawbone and some teeth, but what's interesting is where it was found. It was on the edge of the Bering Strait 10,000 years ago. Well, where were the Native Americans or the Chinese at that point? They were on the edge of the Bering Strait 10,000 years ago when the Ice Age happened, and then they had the Bering Strait land bridge that they called Beringia, where they walked across, and then they eventually developed into the Native Americans of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that 8-foot tall upright walking primate was in the same place at the same time. So did it follow them
Right.
10,000 years ago over here? Well, I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah.
And over the last 10,000 years, it changed because of climate, so we got all sorts of different sizes and shapes of Bigfoot depending on what part of the United States they're from.
Yes.
I get all sorts of different descriptions, like up in the Northwest, they're black. Down in the swamps, they're red. They're brown in the East. As far as the hair color goes, which is interesting,
It is interesting.
And
I
I've
think
seen-
that's to help them blend in better with their surroundings, or do you think that has?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that's, or genetics. When they have, they over the years, they got a smaller gene pool.
Right. Well, I know we were talking about this once before, but it goes to like them being able to hide and you can't really see them. Where the bunker here sits, excuse me, we've got well over 300 acres behind us of nothing but forest. I mean, it's forest. And, we'll have deer in the yard all the time. I mean, just all the time. And I could walk outside and they'll run just into the tree line and you lose them completely. They're brown and you lose them. I mean, you can't see them at all. The only way you can see them is they'll sit there and start flicking that tail, that white tail that undertail will start showing. And if you look hard enough, you'll start seeing that. Then you can pick the deer out. But if you turn your head and you look back to that same spot, he's disappeared until you see that tail moving again. It's really weird. And I wonder if, the color has a lot to do with that and the environment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And another thing I hear people, say, and you get some of the woo people that say that, he glided into the woods and then disappeared. One, I got a big long talk on how they walk. So they don't bounce like we do. They have a pretty level gait just because of the way they walk and the way their foot is shaped. And they have like what's called a compliant gait. So when they walk, they don't bounce up and down like humans do.
Okay.
And then, so that's that gliding, people think they're gliding. And plus, if you've got a 5 or 6 foot step, in your gait, 3 steps, you're 15 feet.
Right.
6 steps, you're 30 feet. So
you're going
30 feet into the woods.
There goes one of my
You're gone in the blink of an eye.
one of my bubbles just popped.
Yeah.
Just
popped one of Jason's bubbles.
Oh no! And I've also heard several stories that they'll walk 15, 20, 30 feet into the woods just out of sight, and then they'll stop and let you walk by them.
Wow!
So, I've heard more than one person tell me they were following one and it just disappeared. And they walked into the woods and they didn't see it anymore, and they turned around and they saw it. It was behind them. So they tend to walk into the woods and stop and let you go by them. So that's another thing that makes them look like they disappeared. So
I have a question for you too. We have another guy that comes on. He's a East Tennessee Bigfoot. His name's Matt Sieber. And he said something to us during a show once before, and I actually found it pretty fascinating. He goes, a lot of people focus on looking down for footprints.
Mm-hmm.
He says, what if a few of them are actually up in the trees? What if they climb? He goes, how many do you think maybe you've just walked underneath? And I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Probably a lot.
Yeah. And would that give credence to where you see 2 or 3 steps, 2 or 3 footprints, and then boom, nothing?
Right. That would absolutely give credence to that. I know there's a couple videos. There's a couple videos back that I can't remember where they came from, but that I've seen on YouTube where a Bigfoot was holding a child, and when they're fleeing, they walk into the woods and they put the child up a tree. It climbs the tree and they keep walking. Kind of like that mother bird thing. They'll put the child up a tree and then, hey, look at me, I'm walking this way, follow me, kind of deal.
Okay. So do you think that maybe the trees are used for the young ones, and maybe even the adolescents, and maybe once you get...
Oh, absolutely. Maybe even the older ones too, if they got a big enough tree.
Right.
You would think.
Right. I mean, if we could climb them, I'm sure they could.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. 800 pounds, 10 feet tall.
Yeah, right. Just have a really high, low-hanging branch.
Yeah.
Really old growth forest, maybe, where they have some 100-year trees or something.
Yeah.
But I've always found that fascinating. Once he said that, I was like, that's true. You're always looking down for signs of stuff, but what if you stopped and looked up? You may be walking that.
People don't do that. Yeah.
Well, that's just like now. I mean, back in the olden days when that's all people had to do was look up, and that's how they got, information on the universe, the stars, and everything. Right. So maybe we need to start looking up a little more instead of level or down.
I can see it.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's 2 of my bubbles popped.
We popped. Jason's got another one popped.
That was actually a question. That was a question I did have.
Well, ask it.
Well, we just did.
Ask it.
Why is the Bigfoot so elusive? Why?
Well, that's a different question.
Not really. I mean,
that's completely different.
Okay.
Well, no, it is. It is. One, what we talked about before, but another reason I think they're kind of really elusive is I have a couple theories on that. One, when I was up in the Northwest, we travel nationwide now, kind of outgrew the Northwest, but actually a year ago we sold our house and bought an RV, and we travel all across the United States now, following up on Bigfoot reports.
Man, that would be nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we're actually in Maine right now. We spent last winter in Texas, and then we're headed back to the Northwest here.
When are you ever going to be in East Tennessee?
Yeah, we're
next winter.
We're having a big Bigfoot conference in Gatlinburg next month.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a little soon.
We're giving away 2 free tickets to it on the 17th. So
yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Dave Pilatus is going to be there.
Oh.
Yep.
That's one person I haven't met yet. I mean, I've been a guest speaker at a whole lot of these conferences.
That's what I was going to ask. When are you going to come over here to be a guest speaker at the one in Gatlinburg?
Whenever they ask me, somebody give them a card.
We'll talk to him. We've got a booth and everything.
He's an anthropologist. He's got to find a bone. He needs some bones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot what we was talking about.
I've got some elusiveness. Yes, I remember. Yes. Okay. So here's the deal. I was up in the Northwest, and I was in the Wallowa Whitman National Forest. That's in the Blue Mountains. That's where, it's south of where the Freeman Film was. But I went down to the Forest Service there because I had a friend of mine who's the anthropologist for the Forest Service. And she hooked me up with her biologist, and we sat down and talked for a day. And of course, they totally, thought I was an idiot looking for Bigfoot. But I got some information from them though. I said, "How many animals are in the woods?" And I go, "I know you guys track that stuff. You put out game cameras, you have estimates, and stuff like that." And in the Wallowa Whitman National Forest in Oregon, he told me there are roughly 10,000 deer. And I see deer all the time. Okay? Mm-hmm. So if I go out in the woods, I'll see 1 or 2 deer every time I go out in the woods. Okay? He said there were 8,000 elk. So I see an elk about every other time I go out in the woods. I see an elk. And then he said there were roughly 800 bear. I see a bear about once a year. And I spend a stupid amount of time in the woods. I mean, about 150 days a year. At least half the year I spend in the woods looking for Bigfoot. So I would see a bear probably once a year. I'll see a bear. And he said there's probably 400 cougars in that area. I have never in my life seen a cougar in the wild. I know cougars probably saw me, but I never saw one. So if you take those numbers and you think in the Wallowa Whitman National Forest, if there's 20 Bigfoot, what's my chances of seeing it if I've never seen 400 cougar that are in that? So the odds are astronomical.
Right.
Basically, for me to be in the same place that one of these 20 Bigfoot were. And the other theory I have is the sighting I saw, and most of the sightings I get from people, they're a heck of a lot closer to civilization than we think. Most of the sightings we have are within probably 10 miles from a tree line, from a city or a valley. A lot of people go way up in the mountains to look for these things, but I don't think they're way up in the mountains. I think they're closer to us so they can keep an eye on us kind of deal.
Yeah.
Because we get a lot of stories of them raiding apple orchards and, farmers' fields and stuff like that. So I think they do a lot of their gathering from us.
Right.
So we just don't know it.
Go ahead. Trying to see what time it is. It's almost time for us to go to break. You going to go to break?
Yeah, let's give him a break so we can go get him a little drink or something.
Yep. So we're going to go to a quick break. It'll be at least about 4 minutes. And go get you something to drink or whatever. And
okay.
And when we come back, though, I've got a good question.
He does have a YouTube channel that he does like a live cast on, right?
I do.
Oh,
It's Watch America.
Yeah, I watched it today. It's pretty good. So,
that's awesome.
I just didn't know if you knew that.
I did not. That's awesome. I'll have to start watching it. me being a truck driver, I've got time for 11 hours a day.
Well, you can listen to it, but you can't watch it.
What I do is I put it on, and then I shrink the screen down where it's like this big, and then I drive.
Oh, and then the cops don't know.
Well, I don't look at it because it's like this big. You know, you can't really see nothing when it's
What happened?
quarter of an inch by
do you
quarter
like
of an inch.
voice text when you text me?
When I text you, yeah, I voice text you. I do. I tell Google. I can't say it too loud because my whole house will start lighting up. But I'll tell Google to text you. I've started rewiring the whole house, and so I've started making it into a smart house, so you can shut lights on and off and do all kinds of stuff. And if you say the "Hey G" word, then things in the house start working. So I try not to say that word too often.
I'm sure everybody in the NSA knows everything you do.
Oh, they already know. They already know.
Yeah.
I didn't have to have a smart home for them to know, though. They keep up with every conversation we have. Yeah, I'm sure of it. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, Scott?
Okay.
So, Jason and David at Project Dark Corona.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, we're simulcasting live on Spreaker and on Podbean. Remember, we're also on Facebook. That's Everything Paranormal, Bigfoot, UFOs, Aliens, and Ghosts. It's a mouthful, but it's us. Twitter, we're Project Dark Coro. That is CORO. And remember, come over to projectdarkcorona.org. Sign up, become a member. It's free. It doesn't cost a dime. And you could chat with us over here in the Area 51 chat room.
Yeah, we finally got it up and going after
just a couple minutes.
a couple of minutes of bad connection or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it was weird. But anyway, we got it up and running. And but we'll be back with you here in just a couple of minutes.
You're listening to Project Dark Corona.
Hey, everybody. This is Matt Sieber from East Tennessee Bigfoot.org. You're listening to David and Jason at Project Dark Corona Radio.
Do you like the paranormal, cryptids, and folklore? Then join us at Project Dark Corona on Spreaker. We have a live show on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We interview the best in all subjects of paranormal and strange. Also, join us on projectdarkcorona.org. When you sign up, become a member, you'll get to hear the latest blogs and episodes. Thanks, and remember, Project Dark Corona Podcasts.
Hey, this is Jeff Reagan with the band Catalyst. You're listening to Project Dark Corona with David Reagan and Jason Scott.
All right, welcome back to Project Dark Corona.
Welcome, everybody.
So if you're just joining us in the chat rooms, they're getting full. We've got 3 chat rooms running here.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
And we're talking with Scott Violette about some Bigfoot and some of the things he's came across while hunting and taking these stories.
While getting to do what's awesome.
Yeah.
Getting to run around and just do that.
Man.
Is that not awesome?
Yes.
That's crazy. I want to do that.
All right.
Why don't I have those kind of goals?
Yeah. So we're going to bring Scott back. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. We're
So,
sitting here saying we wish that we could be you.
Yeah.
One day we'll
I
get
tell you what.
with guests like you.
Yeah,
we're going to make it for us. So be sure
That's it.
to answer our texts and messages when we get done, so you can come
Okay.
back on.
I will.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, I left, and what I had a question about was, do you believe? Well, I guess I'll better phrase this. I believe at one time, I don't know if it is now, but I believe at one time, they were a lot like the Native Americans, that they moved with the herds and stuff like that for wintertime, summertime. And do you think that they still do that? And that's why certain times are, you get more sightings in certain places, and then certain times you get more sightings in other places?
Oh, absolutely. And, when we were kind of stationary in the Northwest and we were taking reports, I took reports for over 5 years there, and we were able to put pins and maps and dates, and dates and times, of all the sightings we get. And after a while, I kept looking at that map. It's kind of like the scary guy in the basement with a bunch of stuff tacked to his wall and strings running each one of them.
That's funny.
But I started working out like literal migration patterns, and I tried to correlate that with different things, and what I came down to was, I think they're following, like the blooms, like in the spring, they followed the mushrooms. When the mushrooms, they bloom as the snowpack, melts and it goes up the hill. The mushrooms follow the edge of the snow as they go up, and the Bigfoot were following the edge of the snow when they went up. And then, in the fall, up in the Northwest, we have huckleberries, and the huckleberries would bloom, and they would follow those blooms. And then when winter would come, they would head down in the lower parts of the hills, or even south into the southern part of the state where it isn't so cold. So by tracking just sightings and putting dates and times on them, I was able to figure that out. So I think absolutely they follow almost a migration pattern, or follow, food sources, whatever, right, and secondly, the beginning part of your question was about, did they used to be
Migration,
more in tune with humans, kind of thing?
yes.
I think you mentioned something. By collecting a lot of the Native American folklore of Bigfoot, there are some interesting stories. And one of my wife's favorite stories comes from the Ojibwa tribe. They're up in the Michigan area.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a legend or story where they used to trade with Bigfoot a lot.
Oh.
And they said when the white man showed up, Bigfoot told the Native American tribes not to have anything to do with them and not to trade with them. And the Ojibwa tribe told Bigfoot that they were going to go ahead and trade with the white man. And Bigfoot said, well, if you do, we're going to go to the mountains and never be seen again.
Wow.
So the tribe traded with the white man, and Bigfoot went to the mountains never to be seen again.
So they're saying that the Bigfoot has speech.
Yes.
Now, do you think that this is related to the samurai speak that you hear on some of the recordings that people were talking about?
I think maybe that's a maybe on my part. But here's something. Here's something a lot of people don't know: is the Native Americans traded with each other all across the United States. We're able to tell that by finding arrowheads, because every volcano has a different type of glass that it produces, the obsidian glass. But they have a different chemical makeup, and each we can identify the obsidian glass from every volcano to that particular volcano. We found obsidian glass from California in Maine.
Wow.
So they traded all across the United States, but they all had separate languages. But they had one common language for trade, and that was the sign language that Native Americans had. That was a common language for trade between the tribes. If I couldn't speak your language, I could speak your sign language.
Okay.
So maybe Bigfoot was speaking sign language with them.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
That makes a lot of sense.
I was going to say, I got another bubble up here.
Yeah, I guess he's counting to see. So far, how many have we popped? How many's been? Two's been popped? Okay.
Mind Speak. Have you heard of Mind Speak?
I have.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Get your pen ready to pop that bubble. Here we go.
How about okay.
Okay. So this is totally from stories I've got. Like I said, I get a tremendous amount of stories. Okay. And I'm gonna throw a little plug real quick. On our website, squatchamerica.com, we have a form right on the front of the page you can fill out. If you have a story, please send it to us. Because what we're trying to do right now is, by taking people's stories, we're working out. I'm not trying to prove Bigfoot's real. I know it's real. I'm pretty sure the government covers it up. So we're never going to, that's never going to be mainstream. But what we're trying to do is trying to figure out their lifestyle, how they live, what they do,
Right.
what their family structure is like, that sort of stuff, just from stories from people.
Yeah.
So what I think is, out of these stories we've got, and I've got a multitude of these stories where, for instance, there were a couple, and this was back in the Blue Mountains, because I got really good stories from them. But they were out cutting wood, and it was late fall, and they were in the snow up higher in the hills, and they were driving back down off the hill, and a Bigfoot stepped across the road in front of them. It walked about 100 yards up a kind of a clear hill, and there was like a lone tree, and it stood behind the tree and looked back at them. They stopped and got out of the car and tried to get their cameras ready to take some pictures of it. And next thing they knew, they were almost home driving in the car.
Wow.
What?
And and then another story I got from a Native American guy. I mean, this is more modern, but he was working with a logging company, and his job was to go up and early in the morning before the work started, and take take a fuel truck they had, or it was a pickup with a bunch of barrels in it, around to the vehicles and fill up all the skidders and the, equipment up there. He got up there, and all the barrels had been thrown out of the back of his truck, and these are 55-gallon drums full of fuel. So he thought, some kind of vandal, but he would be able to literally pick these up and throw them over the tailgate. The tailgate wasn't open. The truck. But, so he started looking around the camp, and he ran across this Bigfoot that was standing in the woods right by the camp where he was at. He saw it, and he said the next thing he knew, he was almost a mile and a half down the road running, and he don't remember starting running. And here's what I think this is. There's some animals, a tiger comes to mind, that can growl so low that you can't hear it, but you can feel it. So we just recently on our YouTube channel interviewed a actual choir teacher at a university, and we played sounds for him, and he picked out some stuff that I'd never heard before. Being a choir teacher, he knows about singing and the human voice and how vocal cords work and all that stuff. So, and he had a doctorate in music, in voice, so he knows about all that, how to make sounds, basically.
Yeah.
And he said that the sounds he heard from these Bigfoot recordings, especially some of the longer howls, he said was very interesting because he could hear 5 octaves of sounds in those. And he said humans can only do, the sound was coming out like one voice making 5 octaves, hitting a range of 5 octaves at the same time. The humans can only do 3.
Wow.
So he said these things could probably growl so low you couldn't hear them, but you could feel it, which pushed your brain into a fight or flight mode.
Wow.
So if you go into a fight or flight mode, you kind of tune out for a minute, and you're either running or fighting, and most of the time it's running. So you end up losing time because your brain shut off, because it's like a fear response. So you're so scared, and you don't know why, that you're just reacting at that point. And like you come to a minute or two later, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Right. That makes sense. So that's the infra.
Yeah, that's called infrasound. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would make sense. Like, you was talking earlier about, adaptations and stuff that we've made over the millions of years and stuff, and that's why people are afraid of the dark, and because the bad stuff come out at nighttime and hunted you usually, and that's why you sat around campfires and different things like that. And these things are still locked into everybody's DNA. And
it is.
And so, with that being said, you could say that infrasound is locked into your DNA, and it does what you said. You feel it, you can't hear it, it's non-audible, but it just shuts your body into this mode, like you said, fight or flight mode, and then your body takes over, and it does flight. It does. And then, do you think that could be your mind saying, get out of here? And they're thinking that this thing's talking to them because that's what they remember.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I think that's probably it.
In all actuality, it is really
saying,
talking
get out
to
of here.
them.
Yeah.
It's saying, get out of here.
Yeah,
I'm not going to pop that bubble just yet.
Yeah, okay. He's keeping that
You're not?
I'm going to keep it open.
Okay. Let me throw one more thing on top of that fire then. Let me see.
He's wanting to pop that bubble. Okay, I'm listening.
You mentioned earlier, there's some that some things that are so deeply embedded in our DNA and our history, right? Mm-hmm. And that fight or flight is one of them. Here's another one. You ever walk into a room and forget what you went in there for?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All the time.
That stems way back when we used to live in caves. When you walk through the opening of the cave, everything out there can eat you. When you're inside the cave and past that fire that's at the mouth of the cave, you're safe. So when you walked out through the opening, through that doorway into the world, your mind would dump everything that's happening. So you'd become ultra alert. So you would lose memory, like short-term memory things when you walk through that door, because it needed more processing power when we were simpler minded, to stay alert, to keep something from eating you. And that whole thing of walking, every time you walk through a doorway, your brain will lose memory, just genetically from history.
I'm low. I thought I was low on RAM.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
is. That's funny.
So when you still hear that infrasound, it's your body, that genetic memory kicks in and says, "Oh, I just walked through a doorway and everything out here can eat me."
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I need to get away. Yep.
Where's that bubble at?
I had to let that one out slowly.
Well, I know you got another question.
Well, I was just wondering. I mean,
is this another bubble?
While we're on the wound, I know you collect a lot of reports, and have you collected any with the orb phenomena and things? Because I've heard of a lot of people that sees orbs when they have these Bigfoot sightings.
Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to leave this bubble alone because there's actually a Miwok Indian legend that says everywhere a Bigfoot goes, a light follows.
Oh,
wow!
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and of course there's a whole lot of different tribes that have the Bigfoot as a spiritual being sort of thing, and orbs are equated with those. So I haven't debunked those yet. So
well, you got to keep one. You got to keep one tonight, Jason.
That's a big one too.
Yeah,
because I do believe that there's something malevolent about these things, the way the natives talk about them, and just how they're so elusive, can come and go, and I watched a video. I forget the guy's name.
Oh, the one
that Matt sent me about the vortex. He's on YouTube, but he filmed this like hole opening up with this creature coming out of it when he was
and you couldn't really see it. It was almost see-through.
Yeah, it was like transparent, but I believe in that it's just a dimensional thing. Like there are, I think ghosts and all that are dimensional too, by the way. And this could just be a part of that dimension. But you've busted two of them bubbles tonight.
Yeah. Well, there is dimensions. I'll give you that one for sure. But another thing, I think that Bigfoot is more terrestrial is because we do have DNA.
Right.
And what's her name? Melbourne.
Oh yeah,
is that right?
Melbourne. Yes.
No.
As a marketing manager?
Well, not. No, there's a woman. No, I'm not talking about. I accidentally said Melbourne. What's her name? Anyway, well, I know Jeff. I've spoken at a lot of conferences with him. We've sat down and had lunch a few times. So, but
I'd like to meet him. He seems pretty neat.
Yeah, we'll bring a dictionary. He talks like a professor. So
one of those, huh?
yeah. But he's a great guy. Yeah.
I heard he has a really good cast, collection.
Oh, he's got the biggest in the world. Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
He's really big
anyway,
into like doing like the dermal ridges and things like that too, isn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a cast from the Blue Mountains that had dermal ridges in it.
Really?
And yeah, and yeah, we did, and they put it in. We kind of did a little sneaky maneuver. I've got a friend of mine who's a sheriff's deputy, and we copied the fingerprints onto a fingerprint card, and he put it into the AP system.
Really?
The police fingerprint system. Yeah. To see if anything popped up. See if Bigfoot was wanted or anything.
Wanted for murder in another state.
Yeah.
Big, hairy.
Yeah.
900 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I like that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, the system popped it back and said non-human. That was the coolest part.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It said did match human pattern.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it wasn't somebody trying to pull us and sticking their thumbprints, making a mud cast and sticking their thumbprints in it, So that actually debunked that. So
wow.
Yeah, we do have some that do not match human patterns. Melba Ketchum, that's the name I was looking for. She did a DNA study, and she had, I think it was like 135 DNA samples that were sent to her. Mm-hmm. That was unknown primate that came back.
Yeah. With the DNA, we've seen a lot of stuff that's come back and it's come back like unknown primate. But then there's always like I think it's on the mother side of the DNA, the mitochondrial, I think, or something, where it shows human almost every time and that's why a lot of people try to throw it out. It's like
right.
you get two sides to the same DNA and they're like, oh, well, it's just been contaminated.
Right.
And
yeah, but that goes back.
Me.
Well, yeah, but it also goes back to what I said earlier. There's been 5 species of humans living on the planet
right
at the same time.
Right, and that's what
we
I
all
say.
have.
When you
we all have hominid. Yeah, we all have hominid DNA.
Right, exactly. That's what I said. Like when you getting this from multiple people from multiple locations, and it's all coming up pretty much not the exact same, but the same type of DNA. You've got to say not all these people are contaminating this DNA.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's fascinating, and for me that is the one thing that shouts. Besides like I was telling you, before we started the show about my sighting. Before I had my sighting, and that was just last year. Before I had my sighting, I still believe that there's a Bigfoot because there's just so much evidence. Not only the people and a lot of really credible people, but then you've got the footprints. I've got a handprint cast over here. I've got a footprint cast of Patty. I've got a handprint cast here from here in Kentucky, or from up in Kentucky, and it's a beautiful handprint cast. And you know, I mean, just with the amount of evidence that there's got to be something. You know, there's not that many people out hoaxing this and can pull off the hoaxes that you know, that it would. I just don't believe it, you know. And then I had my own sighting. Yeah. You know, being a truck driver, I was hoping at one point maybe, you know, I might actually get to see something, and it paid off last year.
Typical truck driver scenario here.
Right, yeah. Right. You know, and here we are driving on I-90. You know, my wife does the daytime driving. I do the nighttime driving. And she's in bed. It's just slightly foggy that night. And so you can see about, you know, really good for about 4, maybe 5 car lengths ahead of you. And then it kind of starts hitting the wall. It's not like dense, but you could start to see, you know, you can't see really great behind it. And we're driving along, and all of a sudden, you know, it's huge. I mean, this thing is pretty good size. It's a bipedal, come out of the median, and we're going westbound, and this thing comes up, and within a couple of steps has crossed the road from one side to the other, and it was going up the embankment on the other side, you know. And speed limit for trucks in Washington, I think, is 60 or 65. And, you know, you're talking 4 or 5 car lengths. He was across the road and up the other embankment before I got to him. And, I mean, fast.
He was gliding.
He was fast. Yep. I mean, you wouldn't think for as big as these things are, because it was huge. They would be that fast, but
well, if you got a stride that long, yeah, you're gonna.
He was quick, quick, and
yep.
and that really just stacked right on top of what I already believed existed anyway. You know, if everybody would just have.
You were. Yeah, I was going to say you were in I-90, yes. Like headed towards Seattle, westbound.
Yep.
Out of Yakima. How far up the hill were you? You know.
I'll have to find all my information, because I did save all my information. I'll have the mile marker.
Cool!
Yeah, I did. I actually wrote it all down. I've got the mile marker. I've got the time of day, and it was between 10 and 11 o'clock at night Pacific time when it happened. It was almost 11 o'clock, I think, at night. And but I've got the mile marker and everything written down. I'll definitely have to get that and get it to you so you could have it. But yeah, I've definitely got it all written down. It was fascinating. It took me a minute to get my senses about me so I could start writing everything down, though, because it was just
right.
It was
you
crazy.
Can actually go to the website he's got and just report it.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. And we have did you have a drive cam in your truck?
Oh, you know, that's what was crazy, is that we put one in afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have one before.
Oh no.
And
typical answer.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And after that, we have one in now, and this thing is like it's a high definition dash cam.
And you haven't seen nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing except for the birds my wife hits all the time. She's a bird. I'm gonna start putting like birds with crosses, X's on them on the windshield.
Yeah.
So have you ever got any reports from Washington State, like around Mount St. Helens?
Oh yeah.
Really? What do you think about that? What do you think about that 1980 eruption? Do you have any like reportings from that era?
Yeah, there was, there's the black helicopter story. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but they said a bunch of witnesses came forward and said that they had counted up to 8 black helicopters pulling Bigfoot bodies off the mountain after the eruption.
Oh yeah, that's what we thought. We did a show on this once and done some research
and it, you know, with the research we pulled up, there was 3 different accounts from 3 different eyewitnesses. One of the accounts was from a person in the Army, and he was stationed to watch a specific tent or something like that. He said a Native American guy walked into the tent. Now I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but a Native American guy they had walk into the tent and started speaking to a Bigfoot, literally speaking to it, like in a language, like they were speaking, literally talking to each other. And then they left the tent because they were bandaging up this particular Bigfoot. And then they went and left, and he led them to places where other ones were to try to help them out. That was one of the eyewitness statements that came out of that eruption. And I was like, wow.
I had not heard that one before. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's pretty fantastic. You know, I mean, you've got a Native American that can literally speak to one of them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, that would be the Yakima tribe, I think, in that area.
It might have been.
The Yakama.
Yeah.
Yakama, yeah. I might have to go take a trip and talk to some natives up there. See if I can get some stories. Yeah.
I don't remember if the story actually had a name to it, like who it was.
Yeah.
Because this was like his view of what was going on. So he didn't really know anybody. He was just stationed to watch this tent, and that's what was going on in the tent, It was pretty fascinating though.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, actually, my wife is from Yakima, that area. She was there when Mount St. Helens. They were buried in ash.
Oh, wow.
In fact, this is a funny story. She grew up with the people who lived across the street from her was Roger Patterson.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and she didn't even know him. She didn't know who he was. It was just her neighbors,
Oh man, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. only the gold standard in videos. I mean, they're finding out almost every day as they look at that video that it can't be faked.
They've got that 4K video out now where they've done all that work to it and looks
good.
Yeah, you can see the muscle movement in Patty's legs and all. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, they didn't even have the technology for a gorilla suit, even or any kind of a suit to look like that at that point. So it was.
Right. We just got another video about 2 weeks ago up here in Maine. We actually talked about it on my last YouTube live. That is fairly comparable to that, actually.
Really?
Yes. It's a little bit of a shorter clip, but we broke it down on our YouTube channel last week. And went frame by frame with it, but it was a high resolution film, but there's only like 17 frames that had the Bigfoot in it, but it was running alongside of a ATV, a 4-wheeler, for about, I don't know, it was like 18 frames of the video. And it was actually keeping up with an ATV that was doing 20 miles an hour in the woods. And it was running through the woods, and it was on the ATV was on the road. So,
Wow.
yeah, we actually broke it down. We actually broke it down in our last video, and it happened like 2 weeks ago, and we just so happened to be like less than like 30 miles from where that was shot. And next week we're going to go find that area and see if I can find any evidence, hair trees or footprints, hair, whatever we can at that location. So hopefully.
That sounds good. We're going to take another little quick break. We got about
30 minutes left.
Well, we got 23 minutes left for the show. We're going to take a
2-minute break.
2-minute break. And I've got another couple of questions that I'd like to talk about.
Then we'll make sure that we could get all your information out before we leave.
Yeah.
Especially the YouTube stuff and everything.
Yeah, so we'll be back after this quick little break.
You're listening to Project Corona.
Hey, this is Jeff Reagan with the band Catalyst. You're listening to Project Dark Corona with David Reagan and Jason Scott.
Do you like the paranormal, cryptids, and folklore? Then join us at Project Dark Corona on Spreaker. We have a live show on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We interview the best in all subjects of paranormal and strange. Also, join us on ProjectDarkCorona.org. When you sign up, become a member, you'll get to hear the latest blogs and episodes. Thanks, and remember, Project Dark Corona Podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Sieber. I'm stuck in a bunker with David and Jason on Project Dark Corona.
Welcome to Project Dark Corona. Project Dark Corona presents Project Dark Corona Podcast. Coming to you live from an underground bunker at an undisclosed location deep within the Appalachian Mountains. Bringing you the strange and unknown with your hosts David and Jason. You're listening to Project Dark Corona Podcast. All right, welcome back after that quick little break again. So if you just joined us, we're talking with Scot Violette about some Bigfoot and some of the things he's collected over his, how many years has it been, Scott?
25.
25 years of research on Bigfoot.
It's a long time.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
I do want to say that George's Jungle in the Podbean chat room says Bigfoot will probably never be caught because he knows that we are a society that likes to kill things that we don't understand, which is probably true.
Probably right.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that because what I thought, one of the first things I thought about years ago was why they were so elusive. If they traveled across the Bering Strait with us 10,000 years ago into America, in the first 2,000 years of humans being on this continent, they wiped out 4 species of animals.
Wow.
So if they watched us do that, I would avoid us too.
Right.
And also they wiped out the giants, if you believe that part of history.
Yeah.
The giant race.
That was something that we was want to touch on just for a second. Was there was a famous speech by Abraham Lincoln, given at the where was it, Jason?
Niagara Falls.
That Niagara Falls, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he said, as I look upon these lands, that the ancient giants, the ancient race of giants, on this continent, once looked upon, and it was something along those lines, and during any time that you've done any digs or anything like that, have you found, anything that was like that, like giant, like just it didn't mix with the rest of the people? Because a lot of the native legends in North America talk about giants, talk about six-fingered, double rows of teeth.
Right.
These, and a lot of them were talked about as being cannibals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And those could have been just Bigfoot too, but what I'm thinking is actually the Winnemucca tribe in Nevada and in southern Oregon. They have a lot of giant legends. And they have a story about a cave where they set it on fire, trapped some giants in it, and set it on fire.
Yep, the Lovelock Caves. Yep. The red-headed giants. Yep.
That was one of our first shows we ever did. The legend or the story of the red-headed giants.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a back room, in a closet in Winnemucca, Nevada, in a museum they have there, they have some giant skulls. They don't have them on display, but they do have them.
Wow.
Yeah,
and I've seen it. I've seen them. So
we were just wondering.
So being an anthropologist, archaeologist type person, I got snuck into the back room kind of thing,
It's nice to have those credentials.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times I thought, I know there's at least one or two probably Bigfoot skeletons in some drawer in the Smithsonian somewhere.
Yes.
Too. I'm almost positive.
Well, it's funny because you look at all these old stories of like the giants and stuff like that, and I mean, from the 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s even, of them digging these things up, pictures of them in the newspapers and everything, and then the last part of almost every one of these, they talk about how the Smithsonian's come and got them. But the Smithsonian now says that they don't exist. And then people say, well, y'all are a bunch of crazy people, because why would they hide that kind of thing? They would have no reason to hide it. It's like, I don't know why they hide it, but I think it's because they don't like the past that it presents. Because I think, and if you really look at the native legends, a lot of native legends talk about the mound builders as being these giant people, that most of them were not the mound builders, that these giants were the mound builders, that they were here before they come to this land. And I think that's the thing that they don't want to let out. That's my conspiracy theory for the day.
Oh, I can pile onto that conspiracy theory because I have a theory myself, and this is from things that happened to me in my 25 years of research. There's been what's happened to me is one time I got 3 reports from 3 different people of Bigfoot being in a certain area at a certain time. And these were reports like a week old. Like last week I saw this, from 3 different people. So we get ready, we head into the hills a couple days later, and that area had been controlled burn by the Forest Service. Like crap, we were too late, So I thought, okay, coincidence, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this has happened to me. This has happened to me 3 times now, and one time in the winter, and they don't do control burns in the winter.
That's weird.
So, yeah, it is. And my theory is now, what if we find out that we prove Bigfoot's real, and we also prove that it's another human species? Mm-hmm. What in the heck would that do to our society?
Right. Yes. It would,
I know. Like, we have another human species. Right, that too. And do they get voting rights? You know, do we have to?
Only if
do we have to pay them Social Security? Yeah, I know. Yeah. Do we have to block off like 90% of the forest now because it's their land in their country?
I think that would definitely, that would be why you'd want to keep something like that secret, because, they would have to find and keep suitable habitat for them. And then they would have to go in. I mean, there's places that's done it, but, they would have to make the hunting of, or, things like that of these creatures illegal, and they would have to do all kinds of stuff.
Well, what state was that did?
There's multiple
Oregon.
states. Yeah, Oregon's got it. And if I'm not mistaken, I forgot the guy's name, but he's up in Canada, and he's got these really good videos of these creatures. And they're so good that he's actually convinced their parliament and everything that they truly exist, and they've made it to where you can't hunt them or anything either.
Right. There's a law in it's a county in Washington, Skamania County. They made it illegal. Actually, a felony to shoot one.
That's fascinating.
Well, a long time ago on that Art Bell show, the guy called in, said he had shot one of something he thought was a Bigfoot, and he was asking,
he gave Art the coordinates to it,
everything.
He buried it, and he said that it was so human looking, and this is something that you get in a lot of people's statements, that it was so human looking. After he shot it, he buried it and was afraid to tell anybody about it because he was afraid to go into prison for killing somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave Art Bell the coordinates to it, and now Art Bell never owned up to if he went there or not, but he at one point just said that we're going to drop the subject. And he was a pretty curious guy, so I would almost guarantee he went and found it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if he passed it on to... I don't know.
I don't know. I know Art Bell had a thing where he had Art's parts, where people would send him in parts of what they thought was UFOs and all kinds of stuff. And if it was crazy enough, he would actually send it in to get tested. And there's quite a few things that got tested at some labs that came back that they didn't know what it was. I mean, they could trace most of the elements. But the way it was put together and stuff like that, they were like, I don't know a single place that can do this, and so, he had some pretty crazy stuff. And, I know that those got given to some, maybe George Knapp or somebody, I think, got those after he died.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah. I know on some of his old shows you can listen back and some people will ask him about the Bigfoot and if he went and stuff, and he was just like, we're dropping that, so we're not even going to talk about that no more. So I think he went and looked at it. I think he did.
Yep.
So he knew where a body was buried.
Yeah, you know who Cliff Barackman is, like, from that Finding Bigfoot TV show?
Absolutely. That handprint I was talking about, he was just here in Townsend just a few weeks ago, and he signed that cast for me and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah. So he and I spoke a few times at some different conventions too. And I actually had a guy gave me a tree. It was actually, he cut off stump of the tree. It was about 6 inches around that had a Bigfoot handprint on it, where the Bigfoot grabbed the tree and twisted it off.
Wow.
And you could see where the fingers wrapped around the tree and had, smashed the bark. And you could put your feet where you couldn't quite reach it, all the way around it I couldn't with my hand, but so it was a huge hand that did it. And you could see where the tree was twisted off, and the guy was smart enough to cut the stump off, and he had gave it to me. Well, Cliff has a museum in Portland, Oregon area, and Cliff actually traded me some casts that he had collected on the Bigfoot show for that stump. So that stump is actually in Cliff's museum up there. But he's got a lot of neat stuff up there too.
I'd like to go visit that place at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Cliff gave me some fingers. It was a cast of that they had set out a Nutella jar, and they had this Nutella jar. It was inside a pipe, a piece of pipe that they had hung up a tree 8 foot in the air with the lid still on it. Well, they found the Nutella jar out of the pipe. It was like 30 feet uphill, so it didn't fall out of the pipe and roll downhill. It was uphill. The lid had been unscrewed, and it had 3 big fingers that had stuck in there and grabbed some Nutella out of it. And must not have liked it because it didn't eat the whole jar. It just stuck its fingers in and tasted it.
Yeah, that's so
and they
cool.
And they cast it. And Cliff gave me a copy of that cast he had of that. So,
that's pretty crazy.
That's fantastic.
At least it's got good taste because Nutella. Ooh.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy though. But that shows the curiosity. It shows the curiosity. I mean, that's crazy though. To be able to reach up, grab it, unscrew the thing, get the Nutella out, open it up, stick his fingers in there, and have a taste.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. So, we are at the last, 6 minutes?
Yes.
Last 6 minutes of the show. Scott, we want you to give out before the end of the show, we definitely want you to give out all your information, where people could reach you. Of course, your website again, and I've been on the website several times, and right on the front page, everybody, right on the front page, you just scroll down just a little bit, and first it asks you to join. Just sign up and join. It's just like Project Dark Corona. Just sign up and join. It's okay.
Yeah. Scroll on down to that book section and look at that one that says Atomic Bigfoot. And, I still got a bubble or two.
But right on that first page, if you scroll down just a little bit, that's the reports and stuff, and you can just fill those out right there. But go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, please do.
Give them all your information.
Yeah, okay. So our website is squatchamerica.com. That's SQUATCH America.com. And like he said, you can reach us there. You can send us an email through there under our contact information, or just fill out a Bigfoot report if you got one, because we're trying to, like I said before, put a narrative together of how these things live, being a cultural anthropologist. So I want to know the culture of these creatures. So by getting reports, we can put all this together. And like I said, I'm the crazy guy with all the notes on the wall with strings running between them. And we also have a YouTube channel. It's go to youtube.com. youtube.com/C/Squatch America, or just search Squatch America, and we have guests on ourselves every Thursday night. We go live, and that's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But we do travel all over the United States. In fact, I will be at a Bigfoot conference here in Maine on August 7th. Don't quote me on that. Look it up on our website. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's August 7th. In a place called Millinocket, Maine. It's in the North Maine woods, right near Baxter State Park, and the biggest forest in the United States, by the way.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that. It means, yep. It's I think it's, was it? I heard it the other day. It's some stupid amount, like 27,000 million acres.
Oh, geez.
Something like that. A forest that nobody lives in. Okay, so
that's nice.
But so yeah, so we've got a footprint that we found this year from this area. I got a cast, so you can come see that. And then also later on in August, we're going to be in Oregon. I have like 12 days to drive across the United States, but we're going to do it. Easy done for a truck driver, right?
I can do that in 30 hours.
Yeah, right. So anyway, we're going to be at Wolf Creek Inn. There's a Bigfoot conference down there in Oregon, at Wolf Creek, Oregon. It's called the Great State of Bigfoot Conference, and there'll be me and Shelley Cummington, Montana, who's kind of a famous Bigfooter, who's working with Doug Hychek. If you know who he is, he's the guy who did that. He's a producer of Monster Quest.
Oh.
And yeah, so he's right now working on a project with her, collecting DNA to do a DNA study and a hair sample study for Bigfoot. So she's going to be there, and Shane Corson from the Olympic Project and up in the Olympic Peninsula in Washington's going to be there. So come see us down there. And then I think we're going to Yakima to a Bigfoot conference after that. So
busy.
So that's
A lot of stuff.
yeah. Yeah. And then we're headed back down to the Big Thicket in Texas this winter. So, in Falk, Arkansas, because you got to go there.
You going to the Falk?
Yeah.
East of Boggy Creek. That's awesome.
Yep, that's where we're headed.
We just had Lyle Blackburn on a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess, in fact, last winter we went down to Falk and spent a day with Keith Crabtree, one of the Crabtree boys from the original show, you know.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, he was the guy that was in the Bigfoot costume in The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So we got to go squashing with him for a few days. It was kind of fun. So.
He's probably the one running around the country scaring everybody.
Did you catch anything good while you was there?
Nope, we didn't. But that's 90% of the Bigfooting is just camping with a purpose. Yeah.
When we was talking with Lyle the other week, he was live on location. He was there actually squatch hunting while we were talking to him. And earlier that day, he had seen something with some reddish kind of colored hair going through the woods that he saw. Yeah, so it was pretty fascinating getting to talk to him while he was live on location.
He was actually sitting on the hood of his truck.
He was in the back of the bed of his truck. Yeah,
looking up at the stars,
facing the swamp. Yep.
Wow.
It was pretty.
Well, I happen to be. I'm in my camper right now in the North Maine woods. So
look at that. That's another one live on location. Man, we're getting good at getting these live on location ones.
Hey, it's really great to have you on the show, and hope you do get to come back on when you get time. We'll sure be.
Yeah, and if I get down to, you guys are in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, we're in East Tennessee. We're just below Knoxville.
Okay. Well, when we get down in that area, I'll give you a call. Maybe we'll go squash it.
Oh,
Yeah, we got an area out here that I know we got a few minutes to talk about this. We got an area out here that
it's famous in this area.
it is famous. We call it the coochie booger.
Not Coogee.
Now this was when I was in high school, and I'm
Coochie.
50 years old right now.
Coogee booger.
Coochie. So
Okay.
this is in the same area where Scott Walters and them talked about the Back Creek Stone with the mounds,
Yeah.
the Indian mounds.
So
and
this is
everything.
over by Back Creek, where the Back Creek Stone was
Yeah.
found.
So there's actually been a few sightings of the Tennessee wild man in this area, and it's a pretty creepy place. And you do get that vibe when you go through. I've never seen nothing there, and I've been there 100 times.
Yeah.
But you get the vibe that something's watching you.
Yeah. We'll have to walk it sometime.
I've walked it
when
before.
Scott
Right.
maybe when Scott comes.
Yeah, we can go take
we'll
a
go over there and
take a quick.
take a gander.
Yeah. And I've got all the toys. I've got the thermal cameras and all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Oh man. That sounds like
If
a
you
fun-
want to listen to the sighting, the guy put it on YouTube, and his
Okay.
channel is Piney
Life.
Life, Piney
Okay.
Life,
Yep.
and
Okay.
it's called the Tennessee Wild Man.
Yep.
He
And
does a lot of videos on there with hunting and stuff. So.
Yeah, and he mostly does hunting and stuff, and then he tells us one story about when he was younger, him and a friend of his going out to this area, and it's a really good story.
Yeah, it's very
about how
believable.
how it stalks them. You know how you always hear how it walks along with you, and when you stop, it stops. And he tells about that.
Yeah.
And then at one point, this thing gets down on all fours and just runs at them.
Yeah.
And stuff. And it's funny because I've heard a lot of people talk about like when it really takes off to run, it'll kind of do it on all fours and not just on two legs. And so it's a pretty good tale, I think.
That would be awesome for you to come down and we could go out there. That would.
Yeah.
All right.
But we want to thank you for being on the show, and
Thank you, Scott. Yes.
really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right,
Sir, you have a good night.
You too. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Uh,
All right, that was Scott Violette, Bigfoot researcher, anthropologist, has his own website with you can report your sightings, and
Yes.
right now he's in his camper in northern Maine.
Yeah, that's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, he's looking for that thing.
They've already got one cast.
Yeah.
Already got a cast. I'll tell you what's cool too is beep beep.
Crickets.
No, what's cool though with it, I just walked into another room. I forgot what I was talking about.
No, actually, you know what happened?
What?
You had that brain thing he was talking about.
That's what I said. I walked into another room and it's everything wiped off my head. It's just I was gone. No,
Done a hard reset.
no. But like you said, to have him be able to come down here at some point.
Oh yeah, it'd be great.
That'd be cool. We'd have to Facebook Live that or something.
Oh yeah, we would.
We'd have to tell everybody.
Yeah.
Or do Facebook Live.
Well, thank everybody that's been in the chat rooms.
Yes, the chat rooms have been blowing up. Podbean's really been blowing up tonight. Want to thank you guys and gals and remember projectdarkcorona.org. Sign up, become a member. It's free. It doesn't cost nothing.
You can actually listen to the podcast right there on our website.
Yes,
Go
you
into live shows and chat, and the live shows playing right now.
Yeah, and chat with us in that chat room, and then after this is over and it goes up into the podcast, you could go into the shows tab and listen to all the past shows. So and also you could go into where it talks about our guests. Click on it, and you can go back and look at all of our past guests and check them out. So you could check out if there's anything on Scott that you needed. His website and everything's listed on our website also. So check that out there. And so that's all I've got. This was a fascinating topic, a fascinating talk tonight. Scott had a lot to say, and it was cool to be able to pick someone's brain that on some of the topics that I like
even the anthropology part of it.
Yeah, the Mayan stuff. I mean, that
real cool.
Yeah, I like it. So, you have anything, Jason?
Only that remember July the 17th. We're going to have Matt Sieber from East Tennessee Bigfoot on the show right the week before the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be giving away a couple of tickets to that.
Oh, yeah. We've got 2 tickets for the Bigfoot Conference, and we're going to give that away that night. We'll let Matt give them away, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Aha.
So we hope to see you next week. If not, we're still debating on whether to do a show because it is the 4th of July, Mm-hmm. Be the 3rd.
Yep. We'll let everybody know before that.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
So that's about all I got.
That's it. So everybody, have a good night. Have a good week. And we'll see you next week, baby.
Oh, yeah. We're through the week anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely do the week shows, yeah, for sure. And everybody have a good night.
Welcome to Project Dark Corona. Project Dark Corona presents Project Dark Corona Podcast. Coming to you live from an underground bunker at an undisclosed location deep within the Appalachian Mountains. Bringing you the strange and unknown with your hosts David and Jason. You're listening to Project Dark Corona Podcast.